Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show, Soccer Down here on the SDH Network. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Let's see. We got news. It is Midweek Whiparound. We've got to go over our officials for today across the league. We've got our broadcast crews for across the day, across the league for today. Hard Rock Stadium is now fighting back against CONMEBOL, who was fighting back against Hard Rock, who was fighting back against CONMEBOL, who was fighting against everything having to do with the Copa America final. We've got some news. Last night, the friendly with the USWNT did not go the way that Emma Hayes wanted. We've got some numbers from our friends at Opta about what happened in that one. A historic night for Las Ticas in the draw with the United States. Some Atlanta United, and now we're not going to call it news. We'll call it reports. Reports because, once again, tomorrow is the magic day where the secondary transfer window opens. People can say things become officially official, and you have reports involving players, possible players coming in, the solidifying of players going out, being officially official, and we'll see how the beginning of what could be a very, very crazy transfer window, we'll see what that ends up being like. And we'll roll through all of that this morning. Tyler Pilgrim dropping by as he traditionally does. We'll see if we can catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, and get his views on what's going on in and around Major League Soccer. And then hopefully maybe catch up with Jason finally in the final half hour. We can get everything all laid out for Atlanta United NYC tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's a 7:40 kick, and NYC, you don't really know which NYC you're going to get. Started out the season 1-4-2, then had a serious run of wins across all comps, and then they lost a couple and they won a couple, and now they're kind of like doing the, finding each and every column that as you go. So don't know which NYC you're going to get. Schedule compression, once again, we got to talk about that. We'll go back over the lineup from the weekend and see what it looks like, because you have this match, you've got the match against Columbus on Saturday, and then you've got the All-Star break. So you've got the All-Star break, and then you've got Leagues Cup, and then you go from there. So that's the All-Star break is the bookmark in the season to get us into Leagues Cup and to push things forward that way. So we'll have all of that stuff coming up this morning here on the morning show. Last night, we were discussing what was going on with the USWNT and their activity with the friendly getting ready for the Olympics. And it was at Audi Field, and apparently Audi Field looked like Audi Field, which is not really a good thing. So last night, 2015, according to our friends at Opta, the USWNT had 26 shots, 12 on target, 67 touches inside the 18 against Costa Rica, all the most in any match in which they failed to score since Opta began detailed data collection on the USWNT matches in 2015. Failed to win their final match before a major tournament, World Cup or Olympics, for only the second time. The other was the goalless draw with the Korea Republic before the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup. And Lindsey Horan, directly involved in 7 of the USWNT's 10 first-half shots against Costa Rica, 4 shots, 3 chances created. Sophia Smith, first player born in 2000 or later to reach 50 caps for the WNT, and the first player to reach 50 caps by the decade of their birth. Debbie Belkin in the 60s, Mia Hamm in the 70s, Allie Wagner in the 80s, Sydney Leroux in the 90s, Sophia Smith in the 2000s. And so goalless draw for the USWNT, and we'll see what happens there. Obviously, not the send-off you wanted, not the service you wanted by any stretch of the imagination, but you end up with what you're staring at there with the USWNT as they're getting ready for the Olympics. We mentioned yesterday, and we've been mentioning ever since, basically what's been going on with the battle between CONMEBOL and Hard Rock Stadium. And so Hard Rock Stadium decided to have their own press release involving what CONMEBOL had been saying. CONMEBOL pointing their finger at Hard Rock. Hard Rock comes out with a statement yesterday. So, of course, it was right after the show was over when they posted the statement. Safely hosted hundreds of world-class events in its 37-year history, including Super Bowls, major international soccer matches, Formula One, NFL, college football, headline concert tours, and other global events. In each of those, security was a joint effort amongst the organizer, local law enforcement agencies, in the venue. Paragraph 2. As we've previously said, Hard Rock Stadium worked collaboratively with CONMEBOL, CONCACAF, and local law enforcement agencies on security both leading up to and during the Copa America tournament. The agencies met regularly, including daily security briefings throughout the month-long tournament. Hard Rock Stadium implemented and in many cases exceeded CONMEBOL's security recommendations throughout the tournament and the final. As we do following all major events, we will evaluate the protocols and processes in place across all aspects of stadium operations. We remain grateful for the law enforcement officers and stadium staff who work to prioritize the safety of all attendees. Despite the unprecedented scale of aggressive and unlawful behavior on display from a subset of unruly fans, we will have no further comment at this time. So that is the statement from Hard Rock. That was the short version. There were a couple of other paragraphs. Throughout the afternoon and evening, there were numerous attempts by unruly fans without tickets to overpower security and law enforcement personnel at entry points to the stadium, putting themselves, other fans, and security and stadium staff at extreme risk. Various stadium gates were closed and reopened strategically in an attempt to allow ticketed guests to enter safely, and in a controlled manner, fans continued to engage in illegal conduct, fighting police officers, breaking down walls and barricades, and vandalizing the stadium, causing significant damage to property. So basically what you had was Hard Rock release a statement on Monday, and then yesterday at 11 o'clock in the morning, they released that follow-up statement. So it was a lot of statements, a lot of back and forth officially going on between Hard Rock and CONCACAF in that, and I don't think we might have heard the end of it. But once again, I mean, morning, Tommy, by the way, you end up with a venue where, and we talked about it here on the show, where coming into the kickoff event, meaning match number one here in the Copa America tournament, you had, good morning, Tom. Tom and Tommy in early this morning. But when you end up with what happened at Hard Rock and you had the event, that the first match here in the tournament, we've had feedback here on the show where stadium personnel and folks that are attached to matches and match days weren't really all consulted all that much when they wandered into town for the first match here of the tournament with Argentina and Canada. So the back and forth will continue between Hard Rock and the folks at CONMEBOL. But yeah, I wonder now if CONMEBOL called Stephen Ross at like 11:05 yesterday morning. Mr. Ross, CONMEBOL's on line one. Let the back and forth continue. I wonder what these conversations were like and are like. I really do. I really wonder what they're like. So I don't think we might have heard the end of it in our public sphere, but I can guarantee you that the pictures that you see this, Stephen Ross sitting there and having a PowerPoint presentation across like a Zoom or something, and CONMEBOL sitting there going up, our signal's just, like it looks like there's something there, man, but that your picture is kind of fuzzy. I don't know. So that's another interesting element in all of this. And one other thing that I wanted to get into before Tyler drops in, and I don't know if you've had the chance to see this. Won't necessarily call it breaking news, because it was stuff that has circulated. Sarah Fisher at Axios. Willow Bay and Bob Iger agree to acquire Angel City in a landmark women's sports deal. $250 million valuation for Angel City. Highest valuation ever for a women's professional sports team. Bay and Iger become the new controlling owners of the team following the close of the transaction, club said in a statement announcing the deal. Pairs investing an undisclosed sum to take control of the team, of which $50 million will be used to support the club's future growth. NWSL league rules warrant that a controlling team owner must own at least 35% of a team, which means that Bay and Iger would have had to invest at least $87.5 million in the deal. Bay will serve on and have full control of the club's board. Also going to become a controlling owner for the league's purposes, will represent the club on the NWSL board. So I guess should be like the governor. Deals subject to closing conditions, including approval of the NWSL. Angel City generated the highest revenue of any women's team in the world in the statement released by Angel City. Topped all other NWSL teams in attendance, sponsorship revenue, total revenue last year, largest season ticket membership. Founded in 2020, prominent actors and investors, Natalie Portman, Karen Nortman, Julie Uhrman, Alexis Ohanian, club's founding controlling owner. So with the investment of resources and capital, hope to accelerate the growth of the club in the NWSL, according to Willow Bay, working with the team and the board, Capital B, and the incredible community of ACFC fans committed to advancing the club's mission of driving equity on and off the field. Big news. NWSL signed that 4-year deal for $240 million for TV. So it should be expected to close in the next 30 to 60 days. So that's kind of the news of the AM. And because I yammered, I'm horribly late. I'm horribly late. And bringing in Tyler, as traditionally as it happens here on your Wall Pass Wednesdays. So how is the office? How is it evolving? How's the record space there in Office TP? How is it evolving?
It's getting there. I set up my ring light so it doesn't make me look like I've got a circular eyeball. So that's helping. I mean, I can't, obviously the camera doesn't show everything, but I've got some of my personal, like my Legos and stuff up here, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the scarf is back there, which unfortunately I can't fit them all. But I also brought the good old tactics board.
Yes.
So in case we have to use it, and my whistle from, when I coach. So in case somebody gets out of hand.
Okay. So see, now I completely and totally can see that. And I think that, how many times have you used the whistle on Tommy during the show?
Twice. Probably should be more, but that's okay.
All right. So when you have a whistle, all I do is talk over folks. What constitutes you having to use the whistle? I mean, does it have to seriously go off the rails, or do you just, is that your timeout function?
No, we get we try to keep everything scarves and spikes after dark, like post 8 p.m. right?
Yes.
So I think if it gets, somebody's rambling too long, maybe, or things just keep going, and then we're touching the line, but then all of a sudden somebody takes that step over. It's or last night, yeah, Tommy, we came back from the interview. I did a pre-recorded interview with Tony Husband from Apple TV.
I've heard of him.
And yeah, good guy. And so, and this, doing StreamYard, you play the video, right? And it plays during the live show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come back from the end of the interview. So now we're back live again.
Yes.
Tommy turns his camera back on and he's wearing a clown mask. And it was just like, oh, that's where we're at in this conversation.
Wow.
That's where we're at here.
Wow.
Because, the soccer, the football hasn't been that beautiful lately. So
no, it has not.
We had to change some things up.
So if there is a positive result tonight against NYC, does this mean that Tommy has to continue wearing the clown mask?
Yeah, absolutely. If it works, you don't ever change it.
Mm-hmm.
You can never change it.
Just checking. So let's let's have the Montreal discussion before we get into other things here.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't good enough. I mean, and Ted Uncle in and of itself is a separate discussion.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring that up so early in the segment.
Let me get some more coffee.
Yeah, you might. but once again, it's as you're trying to find answers in the interim without a talisman. Basically, as I refer to it, it's like you don't have a power forward and you don't have a point guard, and you're trying to figure out, okay, who's going to step up. Daniel Rios has done so. Uh, he had a goal result in, I want to say, 6 straight in all comps
Yep.
for the Montreal match. And Sabalov Janidze is running his legs off on the right-hand side, and then he'll move over to the left-hand side. So the right-hand side for the right wing for Saba is a loose construct, except that when the whistle is blown. Saba's running his you-know-what off. Daniel Rios is picking up some slack, but at the end of the day, it's just not good enough, and you end up with a loss in a game that I think you could have had a result in Montreal.
It's not cohesive, I think, is the biggest thing at this point. Like, you look at Daniel Rios and, yeah, I mean, his numbers actually are pretty good, but I think he struggles sometimes to just be a game changer in matches. And I feel like and this is not taking anything away from Rios at all, but I feel like he's definitely benefited from some fortunate situations as a striker, that's what you have to do. That's part of the game. But he's just nobody is being that game changer. Nobody's picking the team up on their back and saying, like, we're going to go and win this game. Saba has tried. He tries hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just not, it's not good enough, like you said. And we had the discussion last night on the show, like, was this Atlanta's worst performance of the year? And I kind of struggled to disagree with it, because I mean, that Zia had 0 shots on goal. Like, that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable for a team that has the talent that Atlanta has, regardless of whether, they're missing 2 DPs or not. Like, you got to put the ball towards the goal at some point. And it just wasn't good enough. So it feels right now like Atlanta is just trying to keep themselves above water, and water being the playoff line. Just keep yourself alive until this summer transfer window, and then hope that the summer transfer window hits in the similar way that last year's did.
Is there a thought in the circles that you have your conversations, whether it's there at SNS or other places? I mean, I look at it from 2 separate elements. When your lineup isn't static, and it's not the same lineup that you have to trot out, match after match after match for whatever reason, then you can do all the things that are humanly possible in practice with the lineup that you think you're going to have as a part of a starting 11. But then game state with a lineup that you have only practiced with, game state to me always is something entirely different. When pace is faster, there's a meaning attached to it, those kinds of things. I've always thought that a lack of continuity lends itself to this idea of trying to, or this is the guy to my left, this is the guy to my right, these are the folks behind me, trying to come up with some kind of a rhythm. And when you're not allowed to have any kind of a rhythm, whether it's because of player exits or injuries or schedule compression, you have this yin and yang that you're trying to battle across the season.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it a lot lately in the Open Cup. And we talked about it. You had counterattacks that were they were stifled by Atlanta United. Like, it wasn't anything that Indy 11 did to stop the counter. It was just like they clearly weren't on the same page. In a normal world, in an Open Cup type match where you're gonna move guys around anyway, you can kind of understand that. But going into a Montreal match, and this is where Tommy loses his mind, because he's like, it feels like we didn't put forth the best lineup for the Open Cup in hopes of getting something with Montreal. And then we went to Montreal and played probably the worst game of the season, which is valid. I mean, it is very frustrating that you didn't get anything out of either one of those matches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think going into each match that you have right now for Atlanta, and it's not going to get better just because you bring in DPs necessarily. The chemistry has to develop over time. That being said, like it still has to be better than it is right now. I think it's not an excuse to the degree that you're seeing on the pitch right now. Like it just doesn't seem like really anybody is where they're supposed to be or where other players think that they should be at the time. Like the wingers attacking at certain places, like it feels like they're just kind of throwing caution to, out the window and saying, I'm going to do what I can here and try to figure something out. And nobody is really just operating, it feels like, as a team. And that's it. And it is hard because you have match after match after match after match. So there's no time to really, go to the training ground and say, all right, our front four, whatever, y'all go and y'all need to go eat dinner together. Y'all need to go hang out together. Y'all need to go be a part of each other. Like you can't do all
go to Bojangles and get some breakfast and come back.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. Y'all discuss life, hang out for a little bit, play some gestures or something. I don't know. It's just not, like you said, it's not good enough. And they have to figure it out. You talk about game state in this one, Montreal screaming at the TV when Montreal comes out and they gave you the opportunities for the first 20 minutes. They were playing Joseph Martinez and I forget whoever else was up top. They were so spread out. You had so much spacing between Montreal's lines. And it's not like they were pressing effectively to where it made it difficult to play through.
Yeah.
They just had a high line. Their attackers had a high line. And then you just kind of like squandered every chance. You couldn't win your aerial duels to get on the end of a long ball. When you did try to play through it, it just was very, very unorganized. Like we said, the chemistry is just not there. And so you didn't do anything with the opportunities that you were given to be able to at least attack the final third and put the ball towards the goal, which you literally never did. You never took a shot on goal.
And
frustrating.
And this lends itself to my next thought. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase it. It seems like at points, because you have new line mates, new attempts at, you have new guys surrounding you in the offense that you have only a couple of days to practice, that it seems at times you're too unselfish. There are times where folks are giving up the ball, looking for the extra pass instead of taking a shot and putting a shot on target. It just seems like it's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass instead of being a little selfish sometimes. And I know it's a delicate balance, but there are times I think when it's okay to be a little unselfish, or to be a little selfish, and go ahead and take the shot just to put a shot on frame so you can put the defense on their heels and develop something of a rhythm with all of these new playmates that you have around you.
Again, screaming at the TV. When we talked about this one last night too, Stian Gregerson, my man, if you make a 75-yard run, take the shot. If you, especially as a center back, if you make that 75-yard run through lines, not even like, it wasn't even a beautiful thing to watch. It was like watching a giraffe running through the savannah.
Well, but I mean, we had the same thing happen in the twos match with Ethan Dudley and Matias Gajardo, where Dudley is given, Cherokee County to run through. And Dudley engages in the play, and, crew 2 is still trying to figure out, okay, we have this rather large gentleman coming at us. What do we do? And they continue to backtrack and create space. Dudley looks to his right, finds Gajardo. Gajardo eventually works his way to the 18 and scores the goal for Lane United 2.
Banger.
Yeah, so it absolutely was. And so I think that's what, for me is an example of, it's okay sometimes to just go ahead and lay that shot on target, because you never know what is going to happen in that particular idea. Maybe you are right.
That's an absolute banger.
It's just one of those things that could possibly happen. But yeah, there are times where you want them to go ahead and Go ahead and take the shot. It's okay. Don't worry about. We'll worry about the rest of it later while you guys are trying to figure out rhythm. Go ahead and take the shot.
Yeah, I mean, especially in a match where you are struggling to do anything. Like, I get it. If your little 1-2 passes, like, back and forth, you're getting into the final third. If all that's been effective, cool. Like, I get it. You keep doing what's working. Well, what you're doing wasn't working at all. And I know, obviously, I keep using Stian Gregerson as an example, but it was everybody. And that's the thing. This is not a new problem. This goes back months. Like, and I know I've talked about it on here. I've talked about it on our show. Like, it just seems like they're thinking too much when they get into the final third, and they typically have done well getting into the final third. Maybe not so much against Montreal, but they've done well getting into the final third. But it's that decision making after that's been really bad. And I always go back to the Nashville match where Slish just decided, hey man, I'm going to take a shot because I'm getting tired of it, and it goes in. Like, you have to be unpredictable. You have to be unpredictable. And right now, teams, they know Atlanta is going to really, really, really push into the box to try to get that easier shot before anybody actually takes a shot. And you can't do that. You have to be unpredictable. You have to take shots just outside the box. You have to take shots from tighter angles. You have to put a goalkeeper and a defense on their back heels, and also give your guys an opportunity for a rebound, sting the goalkeeper's palms a little bit, and maybe you pick something up right after that. It's just, you have to do something different. Right now, it's just so predictable from Atlanta.
Wiley's asking if they're unselfish or are they just scared or uncertain in their abilities. And I think they're unselfish. I don't know if scared or uncertain is a part of it, but I would think that and it's the quicksand discussion that we have from one of the greatest quarterbacks in college football history, footsteps Shane Falco. And Jimmy McGinty, one of the greatest coaches ever in the history of organized football, where one thing happens, then another and another and another, and it's quicksand. And you don't know how to get out of the quicksand, and you're wondering where that rope is going to come in that you can grab it and get out. And you would have thought that the quicksand that they were in would have been fixed with the Jamal moment, but the Grand Theft Jamal only seems to have been a moment in this season instead of something that could have turned things around. I mean, we're still obviously coming away from that moment. We're still in a bit of a short sample size, but still it has not been that moment to kind of flip a switch.
Yeah. And I think, though, like, you go back to that moment, and at this point, I mean, it is a short sample size, but it's a pretty astounding sample size of, like, you've just been really bad. I mean, I don't want to, like, sugarcoat anything. It's just been bad. And I contend that this team is better than what they're showing right now. Right. I know they are. The talent's there.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a matter of not trying. And going back to the question, like, I don't think it's a question of their abilities or anything at all, because we go out there and we see at the training ground, week in and week out, these guys and how they train and the abilities that they do have. And we've also, it would be different if they were just good on the training ground, but we've seen it in matches. Like, it's not that they don't know how to do these things. It's not that they're, incapable of taking a shot from 20 yards out. Like, they can do it. They've done it before, and they've scored off of these kind of things. And it just feels like, again, they're thinking too much. Like, there's too much. There's no muscle memory in the final third. It's just, all right, I've got to make this next pass. I've got to make this next pass. I've got to be here. I've got to be there, instead of just playing the game. Take your shot occasionally. Be unpredictable. Don't telegraph every move that you're doing. It's again, it's frustrating, but I don't think it's a lack of ability.
Which brings us to tonight and then tomorrow. Tonight is NYC, and NYC at times is like the Forrest Gump box of chocolates.
Yeah.
You going to get what happened against Chicago this past weekend, where I know a lot of folks that went to the spaceship in downtown Chicago are wondering if they can get that 90 minutes of their life back. And it was not the most exciting thing in the world unless you started Matt Freese in fantasy. Then you ended up with like 8 or 9 points because of the shutout that was there. But are you going to get the team that was in Chicago? Are you going to get the team that ran off 8 of 9? Are you going to get the team that started the season 1-4-2, and we're all sitting here talking about Nick Cushing and him being on the short list of folks that are going to be out of a job? They have turned it around, but once again, you don't know which version of NYC you're going to get. I know that Atlanta United fans are hoping that they're going to get the one that's kind of hiccuping right now instead of the one that really went on a roll after the first 7 matches of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for the worst possible version, period. I mean, I think you have to hold out hope that this is the best chance over the past, in this 3-game stretch, I guess is kind of how we were referring to it as this week, because it's really just a week.
Mm-hmm.
This is your best chance at 3 points.
Yeah.
Back before the Montreal game, the question was how many, we even did a poll, like how many points does Atlanta get out of these next 3 matches? And I think the majority said between 1 and 3, essentially.
Yeah.
I said 3, and it was because of this match. I didn't think that they were informed to go up and do much in Montreal, though I do feel like they should have at least got a draw. I feel like Columbus is Columbus. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But this one tonight, you need 3 points really badly. You have to go into it saying, like, dude, we're at home and we're going against a team, Forrest Gump. You never know what you're going to get, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you have to go out and just prove to yourself and your fans that you can do something with this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talk about players that aren't putting the team on their back, or maybe are trying to and being ineffective with it. But, I would be a little frustrated if I were a Saba Lobjanidze or a Daniel Rios or a Shande Silva, and the entire discourse around this team is, man, we just really need some better talent. We need a couple of designated players to save the season. I would take that personally, man. And you've got to figure out a way to channel that. Like, people are essentially saying, like, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to look at it. And I mean, take that, let it be fuel for like something, and you got to figure out a way to translate that not only to yourself, but also into the locker room, and go in there with that mentality of like, dude, we're at home. We have to show out, especially at this point in the season.
Which lends us to Thursday and the opening of probably one of the possibly nuttier secondary transfer windows that we will have seen in this market, in this league, etc. Luka Modric is off the board, considering he signed another year-long deal to be at Real Madrid at the age of 704. And careful, sorry, I guess I should wait.
Bad timing.
Yeah, I have to wait on those kinds of things. 1 more year for Luka Modric at Real Madrid. There are reports, and that's what they are. They are reports that, once again, when we hit Thursday, there are probably going to be some things outbound that will be officially official, because they can be officially official at that point. Inbound reports. Let me see if I've got the ones, and if there are any that I'm missing, let me know.
I got you.
Miranchuk possibly being reported. Gianluca Di Marzio from Atalanta to Atlanta. Last week, Di Marzio reports that the discussion was somewhere between 10 and 15 million euro. You get an attacking midfielder in Miranchuk, possibly, if Gianluca Di Marzio is on the page. Jarrett had found some news about Cristaldo from Gremio being a part of the discussion. Then Di Marzio comes in out of left field yesterday with that short porch that they have up at the Battery, and mentions Udinese being interested in Bartosz Slisz. So that's the beginning of what we're hearing about reports and here and there, and whatever else is on the table. But those three are the ones right now that I have heard. Have you heard of any others? And I guess, can you corroborate those three?
I haven't heard of any others. Those are the three big ones. Obviously, Miranchuk is. It seems like the more likely, just because of the amount of stuff that we've heard, right?
Yeah.
He's going to have to fit the team, and I'm not saying he won't. I actually do genuinely think he would fit this team fairly well. It's pretty clear that they're going back and forth with the price. I think Atlanta allegedly put in 10.
Yes.
They wanted 15. If it happens, I'm sure it'll be somewhere in that, I think Henry on our show last night said 13 to 14. I imagine that's probably going to be where it's at if it happens. I like the Cristaldo rumor though from Gremio, and the reason being, one, I do feel like he'll fit the team a little bit better as it is right now. I think he's a little bit more of a spark, and Lord knows that's what this team needs right now. But he also has been part of a Gremio team that is coming out of a really bad period in its history, and he has helped them get to where they're at now. They've come back up, got promoted. I just think he's going to be. I think maybe he'll offer you just a little bit more overall. So that one though, it's a very loose rumor, So I don't know, and I don't know that you're going to have both. Like, they're both number 10s. They're both attacking midfielders. So one's going to happen. One probably is not. It just seems like Miranchuk is the one right now.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Cristaldo here. The Slish thing is just. I guess I lend a little bit of credence to it because it was Serie A that was looking at Slish before and during the time when Atlanta was trying to bring him over.
Right.
Ultimately, Atlanta was able to pull him over. And I don't think Slish has any issue with Atlanta at all. But I do know for a fact that Slish hates losing.
Good.
Absolutely. And he wears it on his sleeve. He is very, very obvious with how frustrated he gets when this team is not doing well, which has been most of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you're rebuilding, whether you want to call it a rebuild or not, and you're trying to have a very, very, very effective summer transfer window, moving on from Slish would open up a lot more opportunities to make things happen. I don't want to see him go because I do think he's been one of your most consistent players. Maybe not as effective as you want him to be, I guess, in certain aspects of the game, but he has been one of the guys that's helped this defense at least be as good as it has been and keep Atlanta from giving up goals left and right like it was last season.
Yeah. Plus Dax McCarty helping out as a part of that discussion as well at the back. Well, I mean, to your point, if you ended up just bringing in both Miranchuk and Cristaldo, maybe just play it this way. Yeah, something like.
What's it gonna hurt?
Yeah. No, I mean, but
take the entire league by storm.
It gave me a chance to play the drop. It's been a while since I've had the chance to play drops because I was off on vacation, and it's like you're trying to sit there and navigate things, and I've got like one or two less monitors that I can play with. It gave me an excuse to play a drop. When you look at these rumors and the outbounds, and by the way, tomorrow we do get to officially welcome Pedro Amador into the mix and sit there. And it's like, yes, he is eligible as of the 18th, and with Amador, you end up with reinforcement on the left hand side, more of a stay at home from what I've been able to glean. But obviously, that's the past. And if they want you to jump into the play, you're not going to sit there and say no.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see on the weekend, does Amador probably get a cup of coffee in the second half to be brought in against Columbus and be introduced and those kinds of things? Obviously, we don't know where his fitness level is, where his level of comfortability with the system, or is it just going to be something that's like, dude, we know you can go out there and play, just go out there and play kind of a thing. So we don't know where he is, but he's gotten reps at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. So that's the first domino officially in that we can discuss and see what's going on. But I'm looking at a cup of coffee against Columbus more than anything else.
Yeah, me too. And I think, again, just from videos, right, and looking into him back when the transfer was kind of announced and everything else, I think he's going to give you a little bit more stability than Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Caleb, let's be honest, Caleb was always a very attacking-minded player.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Pedro, in a way, and I have to preface this by saying I'm not comparing him directly,
right.
But he reminds me in his play style of a Jordi Alba.
Okay.
I think he's going to give you plenty of, defensive stability, but he's not going to be afraid to get up, vertical, straight to the inline. I mean, you look at his heat map, he does thrive in that very far left corner when he does get into the attack, and he has a pretty solid foot on him to be able to send in crosses. And if that's what you want to try to thrive on as Atlanta United, you need people that are going to put a ball on a dime into the box for whoever happens to be in the box at the time, whether it's Jamal, Daniel, whoever may decide to make a little bit of a run up there. I don't know. They've got to be accurate, and he's accurate, and he's not afraid to whip in a ball. So I'm excited to see him, but I hope he changes the kind of the overall vibe of that left side of the pitch.
And then so you've got Amador bombing in from the left, and then you've got Brooks bombing in from the right. And so hopefully you would have this dynamic of, okay, we've got to be prepared for whatever's coming in from both edges when it comes to bringing in Amador to add to the discussion. When you're looking at this group and heading to the All-Star break and heading to Leagues Cup, from the Copa, I know that there were folks that are sitting there and saying, "Get Hamas, man!" And Jared also liked Borja from Colombia, and obviously that's something of the wish list that you get, and it's like, all right, so I'm going to make my shopping list, and then you get into like the snack aisle, and you sit there and it's like, ooh, Little Debbie, and you grab that. That wasn't on the list. And so that would be like it would be like an impulse buy to try and grab somebody like a Hamas or a Borja or something like that. But there were some folks that, right now Hamas I think was listed at €4.5 million at Transfermarkt, and that his value is going up. We'll talk to Nino Torres about that tomorrow. Borja I think was at 3.5. There might be some bargains to be had, but this will be when you have 50 million that you can play with. And I'm going to call it 40 plus because of the geopolitical situation involving Russia right now, and anything that could happen involving Ezekiel Barco if he goes to Spartak Moscow, because you ain't getting $11 million in a relationship with Russia right now, considering the state of affairs. I think you go to River Plate and go, tell you what, this is supposedly 11. We can't have a conversation with the folks on the other end of your phone line. So let's work something out on our end. And that was why Jarrett was kind of gravitating toward Borja, and go, give me Borja, give me a little less, take the agent fee. We'll call it a day. So that's why I'm calling it 40 plus, where you could really make some inroads, possibly get some players as a part of this deal, 2 inbound maybe, and bringing in some impact folks, because Garth has said that he wants to have it where you're bringing in those players that are in their mid to late 20s and want to be here to help build Atlanta United. So we're seeing what Garth's mindset is in this window going forward.
You have to hope too that some of the many players that happen to be down on the same team and in the same league that have been Atlanta United players at some point in their career would have nice things to say, And also, if they didn't have nice things to say at the time, leadership has changed somewhat since then. So, I like Borja a lot. I agree. And we've talked about him, it feels like, for almost a month now. This team needs somebody like him, and he does fit kind of the bill overall.
Yeah, he wasn't going to back down from Emi Martinez or anybody at the Copa.
Nope. And hey, I'll take that all day, all day. Bring me that attitude and personality. I think out of all the names that have been floated, he kind of fits, like I said, fits the bill. Mm-hmm. And I agree. This whole Barco, whatever thing, if you can figure out a way to, because we don't see player trades or something similar, or make a player part of a deal in that way, but it's creative, and it might be something that you have to start looking at, because you don't want to go and blow through, it's not burning a hole in your pocket. 40 plus million, 50 million, whatever. Either way, that's a ton of money. Mm-hmm. But you don't necessarily need to spend it all right now. Save some for the winter, and maybe save some for your manager that you need to hire, possibly, if you're not going to keep Rob.
Man, I want to get that 65-inch TV and get the surround sound speaker set up, and and I want to get a new car. And no, you don't have to do it now. But if you're looking for strategic things, I think at the very least you're looking at that point guard and the power forward to get you into the discussion and make sure that you can get into the playoffs, and then what happens.
Yeah. And and Uncle No Pockets, I say don't save any of that for the manager. No, I'm partially joking, but you do need, what I'm saying is, you need to go to whatever manager you do potentially go after and say, look, we were going to pay you.
Yeah.
We're going to pay you because we need to get back to, I think, one, you need to give the fans something to hang on to, whether that's a couple of really, really splashy and good is the main thing.
Yes.
DP signings.
Good would be good. Yes.
Yes. Good is important. You need to give them something to hold on to, or, you go to the end of the season, which is apparently kind of where it seems they're going to really, really start looking at a manager, and you need to get somebody big then. Not big again just for the sake of being a big name, but you need to get somebody that's good, effective, that's going to fit whatever and whoever you bring in, whatever type of play that you're trying to play. And you need to back up the Brinks truck a little bit. So if the difference in you getting a big name coach, again, that's good. Big name, good coach. If the difference is, $1 million or whatever, Garth needs to go to Arthur and say, look, you need to open up the wallet. We need to make this happen, because we need it, and the fans need it. They need something positive. So
Tyler Pilgrim hanging out with us here, traditionally, as he does in hour number 1 on a Wall Pass Wednesday. That's Scarves and Spikes at ATL Pilgrim on the 280 character app. And, it is, you look at, let me grab the standings really quickly here, just to kind of get the lay of the land coming into yet another schedule compression week. And schedule compression, it drives me nuts.
It sucks.
And really it midweek weekend, and you're trying to, you figured that was how you constructed this roster and everything. 2 points out of the 8-9, 3 points out of the 8, which, for the play-in, you sit there, you get the advantage in the play-in. Then you would sit there traditionally, as we always do. It's like, okay, if you are saying that Atlanta is in, then who is out? We get into that kind of a discussion, and you're 6 points out of 7th, which would get you out of the play-in round. And then it's, 11 points and so on and so on. So the 8-9 realistic is what you're looking at, with an outside chance of getting into the 7 and trying to figure out, okay, all right, where do we go from here, and what are we staring at? But I mean, honestly, the way that the East is structured, regardless of wins and losses and points, we knew that the East was going to be a street fight. And right now it's no different. Obviously, you look at from 7 to the bottom. And even if let's go 8 to the bottom. 8 to the bottom right now, 2, 4, 6, 8 teams, 6 points. So you know that race to the 8-9 is going to be part of that street fight that we've been talking about in the Eastern Conference, and that's what this is going to be, although that Leagues Cup is going to be in the way after this weekend and the All-Star game.
I mean, and Leagues Cup might be exactly what this team needs. Like, if you're insisting on making your DP signings, or at least one of your DP signings, whatever, you're making moves in the summer.
Yeah.
Regardless. You're definitely setting the tone that we're going to go still try and make something out of this season, and you're not out of it. You're absolutely not out of it. I've seen, folks saying we just need to dump the whole season and start over. I disagree with that heavily. The only thing about that, though, is from the whole chicken and egg scenario of, do you bring in the manager or do you bring in the DPs? Which one comes first?
Right.
I could see, again, because it does seem like the manager hire is going to come in the offseason, just with the way things are going, with what Garth has said, with not even hiring the search firm and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see, to that degree, you holding off, and it would be very painful for a few months. But then you get in your manager, you get the DPs. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they're obviously going to get the DPs now and try to make something out of the season. So with that being said, you've just got to stay afloat to the Leagues Cup. Don't, completely wipe yourself out of the potential playoff picture, but you get to the Leagues Cup, go into it with the mindset that we're going to do everything we can to make something out of this tournament. However, the other side of the coin is, if we do crash out, all these signings that we're working on bringing in, they have time to, settle in, get involved, do the whole thing. So I just think, it might be that you have to go into the post Leagues Cup part of the season and look at it as a brand new season. You're going to have to forget everything else that happened beforehand, because you've got to go win games, period. And that has to be the message. Like, it really doesn't matter where the standings are. You just have to come out of Leagues Cup and you got to go win your games, period. So I think, obviously you get to the playoffs and anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can happen. I'm not saying that they're going to go win the cup, but you give yourself a chance. You got to make it in first. And the only way you're making it in is if you come out of the Leagues Cup, quote unquote, break and go and start racking up 3 points every week.
So you had the show last night, and we've got a match tonight. When is the next time that you and the gang are going to be Signia-ing?
So we're not doing Signia until, as of right now, until September for the Miami match.
Okay.
So we got a little bit of time on that.
Provided that Messi guy might be back and his ankle doesn't look like the donut weight from a baseball bat.
Yeah, basketball attached to his ankle. Yeah, he'll be back just in time to be perfectly healthy to play Atlanta
and not be there for the Atlanta match.
Yeah, because he's gonna go eat pizza again.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, that'll be when we're doing the next live show as of right now.
Okay, and so you had a show. You had the show last night. So we'll see you tonight at Mercedes-Benz. Plans for scarves in spikes tonight. Written video. What's the deal? What are we anticipating from you, sir?
So we'll have our normal content. The articles coming out at the end of the match, and tomorrow we'll kind of be recording because, again, when the team's busy, we're all busy.
Yes, that is true.
Tomorrow we'll be doing kind of a recap video, just going over Columbus. We're interviewing Columbus beat reporter for our Patreon, and then we'll be back for the Columbus match. So, it's a busy time.
Yes.
Busy time.
Wash, rinse, repeat. So, what is the mug your mug this morning, sir?
It is indeed. Had to bust it out.
There you
So,
go. Well,
look,
but
I gotta say,
self-promotion. I mean, I get that.
these things are really good. I mean, like, take away the faces or whatever. You want a good coffee cup? Like, you ever seen? Is it Olympus Has Fallen?
Yeah, it's part of the sequel series with.
Yeah. What is the one in the U.S.?
I thought that was Olympus.
I think it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The Morgan Freeman moment where he becomes the president, and then the first thing he asks for is a coffee, and it's got to be in the white like ceramic mug, because it just makes it taste better. The world's like falling apart around him outside, but he's like really worried about having that good cup of coffee. That is this cup. These mugs are so freaking good. So there's my infomercial about the coffee cup. Whether you like our face on it or not, go get you one on our website.
And then Tyler Pilgrim had a cup of coffee out of his own mug that he promoted on his own website.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll see you tonight down there at MBS, my friend. Thanks for hanging out as you always do, and great looking. We need to get you need bigger space. You can hang out all your scarves and things.
I know. I need just a bigger wall back here.
Bigger wall,
soundproof,
roughly. Yeah. Well, but hey, it's always fun when we get to hear all the activity going on the other side of that wall. We'll see you tonight, my friend.
All right, buddy.
All right, that's Tyler, and joining us on the hot tag is the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler. Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Running around. Welcome to Schedule Compression. I know that you are dealing with everything involving Major League Soccer and activities with the youngins that are attached to the family tree and traveling around all over the place. How have you been? It's been too long.
It has. Yeah, you would think when the high school sports broadcasting season ended, it would be less busy. It's just a different kind of busy, I guess. So it's been good though. It's been good. I've been able to during this summer of soccer get a new vehicle, a new addition.
Ooh.
So that was nice. It was, although it was depressing, right? So like I bought I'm leasing it, but I got a Grand Cherokee L with with the third row and all that, so got it up in Yonkers with 21 miles on it, right?
Wow.
21 miles. By the time I got into my driveway, it had 61 miles. So depressing. I looked at it this morning. I'm at like 600.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not like driving from here to Arkansas, but.
I mean, so how long have you had this car?
How long have I had this car? Less than the end of last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've had it for like 3 weeks and you've already put 600 miles on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I figured that since you got row 3 with the new car, you're going to be the one who is let's go with the Butler's car. They've got that extra row of seating, and so everybody piles in, and you go.
Listen, I am I'm soccer dad / coach, right? So I got to get the portable nets in there and the bag of balls, the whole thing, right? So
yes, absolutely. So how much time have you been able to spend looking at what's going on in Major League Soccer? Oh, so you're the dad mug this morning with the
I don't have my face on it like Tyler, but I have my title. So
the recommended daily allowance of dad is with us this morning with Dylan. So how much of the Copa did you watch? How much of the Euros were you able to digest? And what's going on with Major League Soccer? Obviously, you've got to balance that out too. But how much of all of this stuff have you been able to digest since the last time you were here?
Yeah, pretty good amount, I think. More so Copa than Euros, just because that's the way that time, allotted. Usually, obviously, Copa's at night. You put the kid to bed and you watch matches there. But picked up a pretty good amount. I felt like I felt like the teams that I think the best teams were in the teams who performed the best through the tournament were in the final.
Mhm.
One won and the other lost. Like I thought Colombia was the best team in Copas. They just didn't play as well in the final against Argentina. Like the way that they played against Uruguay down a man, like was amazing. Like their flair on the ball, like you would think they were up a man the way they were playing. I mean, perhaps recklessly, but like it was something to be seen. So yeah, no, I mean, I feel like both tournaments delivered. Um, yeah, it was entertaining. Obviously, the off the field issues notwithstanding in Copa, but
Yeah, we got into that this morning, and with the back and forth that is going on now, apparently, between CONMEBOL and Hard Rock,
yeah,
where
and that's the whole thing. I mean, look, I'm sure you guys have dived deep into this, but like the immediate, and this is what's so much fun with social media, right? Like the immediate hot takes
yes,
about how the U.S. won't be able, how is the U.S. going to host a World Cup? Like
well,
it's very, and I think Jason hit it on the head all during that night. Like this is not, this is a CONMEBOL situation, right? Like I was at the final for Copa America Centenario. In fact, I think,
oh,
hang on, I don't know if this is going to work camera wise, but I
spin the
have,
camera.
I have the scarf of
Oh,
there.
there you go.
And it was at MetLife Stadium. There was whatever it was, 75,000 people there. Messi was in the match. Like nothing happened, right? Like the people who had tickets got in. There was nobody who didn't have a ticket who rushed their way in. There was no issues at the gate. There were no issues in the stadium there. So it's not this country can obviously host big soccer events. It's when other groups are involved, and perhaps and they skimp on some things like security and stuff like that there becomes an issue. So
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you invest in infrastructure. Who knew? When it comes to Major League Soccer, I know that we were talking about it with Tyler. You look at some of the folks that were in the Copa, and you're going, okay, these teams in Major League Soccer need to grab these dudes, and they need to do the impulse buys and the
I
window.
was wondering if that was going to be the case with Atlanta fans. Like you hear Garth Lagerwey being like, "We've got north of 50 million," and you're like, "All right, let's see. I like that guy. I like this guy." Like,
well, I mean, there were discussions about, and like I said, discussions. Two guys on the top of everybody's tongue were Borja and Hamas.
Yeah.
And Transfermarkt Total has them both listed combined at 8 million right now. So, but I mean, do you trust in picking up Hamas, who I know his price tag will go up, and Sao Paulo is going to try to figure out whatever they can get for a 32-year-old. But you hope that you're getting national team Hamas, but you end up getting club team Hamas. And what I mean by that is you see the brilliance, you make the shopping, you make the buy-in, and then he's not healthy. It's like the Hamas national team Hamas seems to be so different from club team Hamas. You're hoping for the first, and more often than not, you end up with the second, at least in recent years anyway, north of the age of 25.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would hope, this would be a situation where he recognizes what playing in America or in MLS does for the brand, right? And for other brands, as we've seen, with players of similar ilk, and maybe that's an added motivation. I think he would be a terrific addition to this league. The marketing standpoint, the fan base, right? Like we know that Colombians show out for sure. In fact, it was funny. I wasn't in Jackson Heights during these games, but like I was hearing like, barricades up for days. Like they were ready for for the party to happen. And obviously it was one of their best performances in Copa in a long time. So I think he has an opportunity to come back here. I mean, look, also, I think everyone also recognizes where the next World Cup is, right? So I think if you're a player who wants to, show out for your country and perform really well, why not get that extra acclimation, if you will, right? With the stadiums and the climate and the travel that you can get, 2 years out. Might as well jump on the MLS bandwagon.
How crazy do you think this the secondary transfer window is going to be in general?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty wild because I think teams have set themselves up to shop big, right? Like with open DP spots. You think certainly Atlanta. You think I think it'll be interesting with Cincinnati, right? Columbus. Like I feel like LAFC, we already know what they're doing, and maybe we'll do more. So I think the wide open shield race will raise that up a large amount. I think there's gonna be a lot of spending, big time spending in this window coming up.
And we mentioned once again when Tyler was on, we talked about the street fight for the 8-9 in the East, and you have, I think, with 8 teams and 6 points separating that. But then you look in the Western Conference, and it is a different kind of street fight where right now you've got the 3 teams that are all locked in at 43 points: LAFC, RSL, and LAG. Subplot: Chicho Arango out for 4 because of a violation of the league anti-harassment policy.
But two that count, right?
Right, and that's the thing here, where it is All-Star game and your first Leagues Cup match. So, I mean, give me something with teeth, man. I mean, first off, we don't know what the violation was. We don't know what it is. Everyone in Salt Lake has been tight-lipped about the whole thing, other than RSL has cooperated. We agree. They're saying all the things in social media that you say in your release statements. We don't know what it was about, but for it to be a 4-match suspension, and one of them being your league all-star game. Oh no, I don't have to fly to Columbus and be a part of an exhibition. Oh no, not that. And then you end up with Leagues Cup first one, and then the 2 for regular season. It's another head scratcher for me. It's like, if you want to do something like that, if you violated it and you're giving it 4 matches, then make it 4 matches in league as you're chasing after the Western Conference title. And I have, obviously, when I see something like that, my spidey senses go up, and I have more questions than I do answers at that point.
That said, though, two very big league fixtures, right? Like LAFC and Colorado, right? Like that's right in the mix. Like you were mentioning, the fight at the top of the West, but then it's like, what about the battle for the other home playoff game, right? Like that is really interesting. It's a all Cascadia and Colorado, like fighting for that right now. So, all those points matter, obviously, how tight it is. So I certainly hear what you're saying. It's odd to have an all-star game as part of that. You don't, I don't know. It's a tough situation to be in too, because then, this just happens and then he's at the all-star game. Like there'll be tons of questions about that as well. So I could see the problems there as well. But look, these next 2 games, I don't know. Like you always hope when you see matches like this coming up in the West, Seattle, LAFC, LA, Portland, Colorado, RSL on the weekend, and then obviously LAFC, RSL, and LA, Colorado tonight. Like, you hope that there's some separation there, but it feels like there's so many teams in a mix that it won't. Like, they're just all going to be congealed until decision day.
It's like you're watching the Tour de France, and you have you have the breakaway group that's right now 1, 2, and 3, and then a couple of minutes behind is that second group. It's the chase group, which is 4 through 7, 4 teams separated by 4 points, and then you end up with the second chase group behind the leaders in the first chase group. The second chase group is 8, 9, and 10, which are only separated by 1 point and they have the same number of wins.
Right.
And Houston has played 1 match less, but they got the better points per game average, obviously. But you have these 3 distinct groups right now in the Western Conference that you get into this last group of matches before you get to the All-Star break, and then you get into Leagues Cup. So you've got to make something resembling a push or make a statement leading into All-Star. But yeah, you've got 3 groups in the Western Conference, and we figured for different reasons the conferences were going to be street fights, and now we've got the reason why in the West.
Yeah, and I think the All-Star / Leagues Cup break is that perfect time, right? Now let's see where we are. Let's assess, what do we need? Do we have money in the bank to spend, right? So
that's where we are. A couple of things that I wanted to discuss with you about NYCFC. Apparently, Dylan Butler Estates is getting a groundbreaking date. Did I see that right?
Oh, I wasn't told when to bring my shovel. So
I think it's like in the fall or something. They're going to start
all right.
looking at the groundbreaking for Dylan Butler Estates. And NYCFC 2 is going to be playing at Icon Stadium at Randall's Island after a $3 million donation.
Yeah. I mean, look, Belson Stadium, there's limitations there, right?
It's
like
on top of a parking structure.
It certainly is. But also it's, what's the like the season for that, right? Like that goes into what? Like similar October?
For MLS Next Pro, let me find the tail end of the schedule and the season here. So NYC, I got a game on Friday. So I think you're looking for another couple of months as the season goes, and it will continue to roll through all of the breaks. And so you're into September and you're still clicking, and I'm still clicking on dates here. I'm trying to advance the schedule as far as humanly possible. I want to say it's October. So it's the first weekend of October. Decision day is Sunday, October 6th.
Yeah. So that the point I was making with that is obviously school is in session, and even before that, you've got the main tenants there, the St. John's men and women's soccer teams playing there starting in late August, right? So and that's also their practice facility. So it makes sense for NYCFC to do that. It's I've been out to Randall's Island a ton. Obviously, it's the site of the old or close to the old, I think right next door actually, Icon Stadium. Unless it's the same, the old Downing Stadium where the Cosmos played.
Yeah, see, that was going to be my question, because I remember Downing Stadium, because I also remembered the New York Stars from the World Football League apparently played there 50 years ago, and the stadium was 50 years ago, and the Cosmos played there, and I think it was like turf and stuff before they moved to the Meadowlands.
Yeah, no, it's been built up, especially for track and field. It's like a major track and field. One of the, I want to say, I'm not an expert in track and field, but I want to say one of the better venues for track and field in the country. So it's been built up, and obviously NYCFC is putting millions into further building it up. And yeah, I mean, listen, you maybe play games between the two for a while. Maybe that ultimately becomes your main location. But it's interesting because it ran the sound like it sits right between really Queens, Manhattan, and the Bronx. No trains. You'd have to take a bus out of there or drive there. But yeah, new home there.
NYC is coming to Atlanta tonight to take on Atlanta United in schedule compression 2 Electric Boogaloo, or whatever, schedule compression 5 or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's just schedule compression to get into All-Star, to get through the tournaments, to get into Leagues Cup, all this kind of stuff. I swear we've been in schedule compression for the last 6 weeks.
As someone who was on every Wednesday and Saturday and sometimes Sunday, I think it was a few weeks ago. I had 5 match nights.
Yeah.
So I had US Uruguay on a Monday. I had it was a 4th of July week, right? So I had US Uruguay Monday, 4th of July and 3rd of July matches, and then matches on both Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
So it was a busy stretch.
Fun with that.
And then I get asked, like, how was your 4th? I'm like,
what 4th?
Yeah, exactly.
So NYC, you don't, and I've referred to NYC as basically the Forrest Gump box of chocolates. You start out stumbling and falling all over yourself to a 1-4-2. Then you win 8 of 9. Then you lose a couple. Then you win a couple. And now you've hit each column. You're like, draw, loss. When you've seen NYC this year, what sticks in your brain from the early struggles to the changes to the successes to where they are right now in the Eastern Conference? What has the arc been like for NYC for you this year?
I mean, I think it's a team that's it's the youngest team in the league, and I think that they show that, right? Like there's not an immaturity, but an inconsistency that you get from teams that are that young, right? So I think that's mostly what you see there. Like it's when they were playing well, it was an opportunity that they all, those 11 or 13, if you add in subs, were on the same page and they were playing well as a unit. But then you get some injuries in the mix, and maybe their depth isn't quite what they hope it to be. So I think that obviously affects then sort of the level that you're playing at. So, and their recent form is proof of that, right? They have, in their last 6, they've got 3 wins and 3 losses. So it's they're up and down like a Coney Island roller coaster. So,
so are we talking a Coney Island roller coaster that is the old wooden ones that you really have to hang on to, or one of the more modern ones where you don't have to worry about your safety and the guy that's strapping you in that puts the bar down over you doesn't freak you out because he's only wearing a dirty tank top and is bogarting a Marlboro Red here?
This sounds like a personal experience of yours from your youth.
Old amusement park at go-go. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and by the way, those I think I was on a wooden one at Rye Playland, which, by the way, was the site of the movie Big. Remember, they had the what was that thing called? That, like, to tell the future, right? Like that machine. But yeah, it was when you're getting up close to the top out of a wooden roller coaster and it's creaking. Oof.
Yeah, brother. You're like, okay, how did I give my tithe to the church this past week?
Yeah, you're getting all your ducks. You're getting all your ducks in order.
Sitting there, you're looking over the side and going, man, did I give my 10%? Did I talk to Sister Mary before the end of the week? Did I do it all right? When it comes to the Eastern Conference And right now, obviously, folks are looking at and friends, because it's not going to be Messi for a while, and it wouldn't surprise me if Messi maybe waved at folks in Columbus. Obviously, he ain't playing this week. Probably goes to Columbus, waves at folks, and steps out onto the pitch. He's in his T-shirt and his blue jeans or whatever. And he steps out, and he does this to each of the four corners. Cincinnati's got problems at center back.
I feel like he's a jorts guy, by the way. I don't think is he a jeans? I think he's a jorts guy.
Okay, well, we've seen him in jorts in South Florida. I didn't know if conditions in Columbus would maybe add some length. Then, right now Cincinnati's got problems at center back. You've got injuries with Miazga and Haglund, and then you decide, okay, Miles, yeah, it's cool. You can go to the Olympics. And so when you look at the top of the East right now, what are you staring at with this group of Cincinnati now on top, Miami now in second, Columbus with 2 matches in hand will be a part of the discussion, because if they win both of them, then they're at 48 and they'll have 14 wins. And so that group of that breakaway group in the East, not to be confused with the breakaway group in the West before we get into the rest of it, breakaway group in the East, what do you see with those 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think injuries are a story for Cincinnati and Miami, and Columbus. You would argue they made the biggest statement in the league to this point this past Saturday, right? By just crushing LAFC, at the bank. So impressive. So to me right now, they're on a different level. Like, we do our power rankings like everybody else does. And, right now they're number 1 for a reason, right? Like, their form right now is incredible. To do what they did to an LAFC team that was one of the hottest in the league to that point was massive. So, there's questions. I feel like you mentioned them, right? For Cincinnati, there's questions about Miami and their health and their longevity over the course of an MLS season. But I feel like we don't have those questions for Columbus, right? Like, the only one being is if Wilfred Nancy is there, right, by decision day.
Yeah.
And if he is, then I think this is a team that, even though, like, I was with the argument about the Shield winner coming out of the West, because the level of competition wasn't as high, I felt like, as in the East. But I don't know. I mean, Columbus might just be that X factor, the way that they're playing.
All right. So what is going on with you this weekend? Are you going to be shuttling folks from point A to point B with the third row? Do you get to watch matches and report on matches? What's going on with you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, for the previous 2 weeks and these 2 weeks, we've got swim lessons, which I'm thankful that she literally jumped in the pool for that. Obviously for any kid, those things are very important safety wise, and obviously just general fun. So that is a daily occurrence. We've got theater camp and another camp and running around. So yeah, there'll be a lot of running around, but also a lot of match coverage as well. Tonight on Saturday, Leagues Cup and going forth. So
busiest man in the Northeast. As always, my friend, welcome back. Great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for
the busiest summer that we've known to mankind. So we will catch up with you when we can grab the comet by the tail. And as always, you know that 10 o'clock Wednesday is yours when you can come and hang out. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Thanks for dropping by.
Cheers.
There he goes with his recommended daily allowance of dad, Dylan Butler. And so that means hot tag. And get this, we turned it into a handicap match. Nick and Jarrett dropping in.
Good Lord.
Exactly.
Once again, there's a non-zero chance that Nick and I are actually related. We just haven't pinned this down yet, which would be great because that means I could too, as well, find a way to apply for Italian citizenship. If so, Paulding County ain't that big.
Oh man.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
Anyone who knows about the cotton gin is not meant for this world anyway.
no.
Correct. Yeah. We've been displaced.
Yes. Yes. Eli Whitney discussions would be held.
No, there was a restaurant.
No.
There was a restaurant that where Jarrett and I largely grew up. There was a restaurant called the Cotton Gin, and it was like this weird. It was like in this weird half empty. Was it like a? It's like supposed to be some kind of like shopping center with
shopping center on 92.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, it was a stone's throw away from one of my favorite restaurants, but also a degenerate place called the Catfish Den.
That is correct.
Which was delicious. Like, you would go get like a couple pieces of fried catfish and the greasiest fries you've ever eaten in your life.
Oh, wow.
Ever.
Like,
Ever.
The fries could have doubled for a noodle.
Yeah, like it was asking for a military invasion. That's how much oil was used on the fries. But but yeah, so we were. This is where we grew up, and so this is why Jarrett and I, we are just two souls who are just awaiting our time to be called home because we don't belong here anymore.
Anytime Jason asks, why are you like this to me? Generally, my answer is because I spend half of my time there.
Yeah.
And this is a more like niche thing for people who grew up in Southwest Cobb. The other half of my time was spent in Horseshoe Bend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you like this? Well,
no.
That's why.
Well,
those were the two places I was around. Growing up, like not being able to go home because a drug deal went bad in my driveway at night.
Yeah.
And then it's the weekend. I'll go out to my dad's house. Paulding County. Didn't expect to see you doing this.
That's right. Yeah. Yes.
Oh man. So guys, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Atlanta United, Montreal, and work forward? Nick, do you want to talk about Miranchuk and the transfer window? Where do you guys want to start?
Dealer's choice.
Okay, Nick, fine. Discuss Miranchuk and Serie A.
Discuss Atalanta.
Yes, Atalanta to Atlanta.
Atalanta.
Yes, Miranchuk and what he could bring to the table. Your scouting report on Miranchuk and the reports of negotiations somewhere between 10 and 15 million to bring Miranchuk to Atlanta and knock out that second A of the three.
Anytime you're getting anyone from Atalanta, you're getting a player who is going to know how to attack. You're getting a player who is comfortable pressing, who is capable of finding, who is capable of breaking down, bunker defenses. I think largely should be a good deal. The only hesitation I have is anyone who's coming from Europe and their expectation of MLS and the level of quality here, I think catches a lot of people by surprise. I think that the travel aspect catches a lot of people by surprise. But from a pure player perspective, this should be a good deal. I know that there are people who may have issues with the fact that he's Russian. Just because he's Russian does not mean he is pro-Putin. It does not mean that he is pro-invasion. If he doesn't say anything, it is merely because he probably still has family that could be reached out and touched by bad actors. Mm-hmm. And it's much safer to keep your mouth shut. So if he does come here, I am pleading with local Atlanta media. Do not ask him about the invasion, the war, anything like that, because you may be looking for a nice quotable. He's trying to keep his family alive. And considering that there's a particular regime in a certain part of the world that enjoys throwing billionaires from 10-story, 20-story buildings, they would have no problems doing that to a soccer player's family as well. So please don't try to ask stupid questions like that should he come here. That's just my 2 cents. But from a pure player perspective, it should be a good transfer.
And Jarrett, we were discussing with Tyler in hour number 1, the other 2 that were on the board, and Nick, you can button hook after this. You had stumbled across Jarrett, Cristaldo, and Gremio, and then yesterday afternoon, Gianluca Di Marzio came in with yet another thought that Udinese might be interested in Bartosz Slisz. But Jarrett, since you were the one that brought Gremio and Cristaldo to the table.
So the group, again, we always check our sources. We always, this is not like a we as in we do it, so you don't have to. No, you should do it as well. Check your sources on these things. The Cristaldo Gremio thing, I don't like it. It kind of fits into what Carlos Bocanegra mentioned when we talked to him before the Indy 11 game, is that they're talking to a bunch of different people. You're going to get rumors that pop up like this, and it sounds like he wants more money.
Yeah.
Gremio might not be willing to give it to him right now, and his agent might have said, well, if you're not going to pay it, then we're going to find somebody who will, and might have just started floating clubs out there to try and put the pressure on them.
Right.
It could be something to it. There could be nothing to it, and it could be his agent doing agent things. Like, it could be either one of those things, and I understand that we are in a very, it's hard out here for an Atlanta United fan right now.
Yeah.
It sucks this year. You had a lot of expectations going into 2024, and they were not met. You've lost 3 key pieces, including a homegrown, and it sucks. I'm prefacing this to say that on the world stage, it's still a big name. And if you're going to float rumors as an agent, as whoever the hell you might be, a good reliable source or not, if you're going to float rumors, a big name in the Western Hemisphere that has north of $40 million to play with in the transfer window is a really easy name to float.
Yeah.
It will draw attention. It will draw content. It will draw interaction. And engagement farming is a real damn thing. I swear to God, y'all. It's the second half of the month. Today is what, the 17th? So we're in the second half of the month. You notice how in the second half of the month, y'all ever notice GSP sitting on those corners, those blind corners on the interstate?
Yeah.
Make sure they hit them quotas.
Mm-hmm.
Content farmer is going to hit them quotas too. So in the second half of the month, you're going to see the stupidest shit possible on the internet.
There we go. Attaboy, Jarrett.
You're going to see the stupid stuff like someone put one out yesterday about like no disrespect, but what has Andre 3000 ever done for hip hop? Like stuff like that. It's engagement farming.
Yes.
It is rage baiting engagement farming. You're gonna get that because it's the second half of the month and they're gonna hit their quotas. Atlanta is still a name, and with that much money, no matter how you're feeling about this season, that outside of Atlanta, it is an easy name to throw around. So we'll see. Sounds like he wants more money. Sounds like Gremio doesn't want to give it to him. Maybe they're playing hardball. Maybe he does want out. Maybe the agent's just trying to strike up something. Gremio, I think, said in the tweet report was basically they don't want to sell. They don't have any interest in selling. I imagine it would be for a lot of money if he did move. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Udinese's manager is now who used to be either the Polish manager or the manager at Legia. And might just want him back. Might have really liked Bartok and said, hey, I'm somewhere else now. I have more money to play with. You want to come back to me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could be that simple. I don't know.
Yeah, not to mention that for Bartok, you're talking about being, if you go to Udinese, you're talking about being in Northeast Italy. Beautiful, beautiful, underrated part of Italy. I mean, yeah. So it's something where if you are a player looking to get back to Europe, there are far worse places you could go. Udinese has had a bit of a challenge lately. They had Fabio Cannavaro as the manager before. They let him go. Cannavaro is still saying he did positive things for Udinese, but this is a club that's in a bit of turmoil at the moment. They need to get back to winning ways. They need to acquire players to do that. And, if Bartok wants to make that trip, I don't like using the word tank in MLS because there's really no damn point to tanking.
Right.
But I will say that if you are trying to transfer players out and you're trying to boost money coming in, ain't no time like the present. So if Bartok wants to go, baby, let us know sooner than later so we can get you out.
Yeah, and player interest does have to matter here, to Nick's point. Like, if he wants to go, if he's like, hey, I came here, it's been a tough year, I don't like it as much as I liked being there, I liked playing with that coach. Hey, Odinesa, you want to give me my money back from the Legia deal? Let's come to the table, we can break bread. I don't love the idea of somebody coming in, spending 6 months and leaving again. It sucks because it's so hard to have any continuity in that situation. But if it's something he wants, if there's legs to that rumor. Sorry, the cicadas are joining me this morning. I don't know why.
They like you.
I hate cicadas with a passion. But if that's where it goes, then so be it. And shout out as well to, I don't know why, after the first sacking of Rome, Cincinnati insisted on rebuilding Rome where it stood. When, after the first sacking, they talked about going to the Northeast and rebuilding. And you could have had like the heart of the empire in northeastern Italy, which is a beautiful area. Cincinnati dropped the ball on that. Great leader.
Cosign.
One of the first great dictators in world history who, back when dictator was a temporary role where he took leadership of early Rome, got them through hard times, and then willingly stepped down twice. Great leader. Dropped the ball on not moving them to northern Italy.
All right, we'll see see if Jason has anything to say about dictators from the early part of the Roman Empire. So it is now a fatal four-way here on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Jason, good morning.
So you went from Bartosz Leash to ancient Roman history in a 30-second span.
This is what we bring.
Jason asks why I'm like this, you already heard.
No, I didn't ask. No. I just made a
before.
statement. I didn't ask. I know better than to ask anymore why you're like this.
No, but we were saying Northeast Italy is a beautiful place.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'll back up to the soccer portion of this, and I'm with you. You don't want to have guys regularly come for 6 months and then go, but when any team in the world is not getting the results that they thought they were going to get, then rosters change. This is a Serie A conversation. This is a Premier League conversation. This is a Brazilian Serie A conversation. It's every league in the world. And the idea of building continuity is, I'm with you when it's working. And when it's not, then everything's on the table. And if the offer is good enough for him and for the team, it's like I've said about Almada, Giakoumakis, any other deal that comes up, if the triple threat of people involved in it are all satisfied, then these are the deals that are realistic. And when the results aren't there, then maybe deals that would not have been considered as much start to get considered, because you're already in not a reset. And yeah, I'm with you, Nick. Not like tanking doesn't make any sense in MLS with the playoff structure.
Cooper Flag is not waiting in the MLS draft, just so people are aware. Like, it doesn't. This isn't the NBA where you can build around somebody in the draft.
Yeah. You tank in leagues where you get a higher draft pick that can radically change your future. That doesn't happen in Major League Soccer, so there's no benefit. However, if the results aren't there, you're probably going to make changes to your roster. And the more pieces, the more money, the more resources you have to do that, then the bigger those changes can be. And that's where Atlanta United is right now. It's not necessarily a fun place because it's a lot of unknown, but it's real. And this happens to teams everywhere. I mean, how many times have we seen Chelsea like sell a whole bunch of people and bring in a whole bunch of people? Sometimes it's worked and they've had a little bit of a run. Sometimes it hasn't. Same with other clubs. And Atlanta United right now, with the situation that they are in, if Slish is interested and Udinese comes with the right amount of money, then it doesn't make sense to just keep him to keep him. If the money is the right deal, you can go and replace him, and or you do have Jay Fortune, who is ready for more minutes, and you have other central midfielders coming, and that's the other factor
Torres,
in all
Fortune,
of this.
midfield. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Torres
all of the cards.
Torres has still got a little bit of time. Cooper Sanchez has got some time to develop. These are guys who are a couple years away. I think Jay could start 30 games in MLS this season if he needed to. So these are all factors in all of this. But without knowing what the offer is and without knowing Slish's kind of motivations, what he wants to do, then it's silly season. And these things are going to come up, and they're going to come up around teams that are known to be busy in the market on a regular basis. Atlanta's one of those.
How silly do you think silly season is going to be in the secondary window, in the overall, not just Atlanta United specific, but in the overall?
Well, in the Atlanta United specific part of it, I mean, it's pretty damn silly when you're talking about the amount of money, which has never happened in Major League Soccer before, the opportunity to go out and bring in 2 designated players with a large amount of money to spend, that now you're in a point in MLS where that player, you can get a lot more player for these kinds of spots. 5 years ago, different paradigm. Now you look at the players that are interested in coming to this league, and if you're trying to sell Atlanta United, you're literally selling what just happened with Almada and with Yakimakis and how they personally benefited from this. So you're selling that. Now you want to get somebody, as Garth Lagerwey has been really clear, you're looking at players who are going to stay here, and you're not buying players to flip. You know, if the flipping happens, because Yakimakis wasn't bought to flip either,
right?
But that's the way it went down. That's a different conversation. But you're not intentionally, strategically buying a player that is a good young player that you expect to grow and develop and then flip. So you're looking at a different kind of player, and it's going to be fascinating. That part, just the Atlanta portion of MLS silly season, is going to be bananas, and I can't wait to see where all of it goes. The rest of the league, I mean, it's the same thing in general, except with lesser resources in different parts of the league. You've got a higher caliber player who is interested in coming to this league. The league is in a better position. You've got a brand new team coming in San Diego, which is going to create some interesting situations in terms of players who want to go there and start from scratch. You've got some clubs that are very high up the table that are not maybe the traditional ones, like a Vancouver, like an RSL. You know, can they go out and get somebody that would surprise us to bolster their claims? You've got the LA teams who are chasing titles, who are always in this conversation of spending money. Miami seemingly finds money on palm trees wherever they can, and they are able to make these kinds of moves. So it's going to be fascinating. There's going to be a lot of movement over the next month in this league.
Nick, for Jason here on a Fatal 4-Way.
Do we think the individuals who climbed into the air vents down at Hard Rock Stadium have found their way out of the stadium at this point, or are they still diehard style crawling around?
I hope so. I hope they had a map like going into this, but you know, it's funny. I keep going back to all this stuff, and man, CONMEBOL is like really good at trying to deflect everything here. Yeah. You know, they're trying to blame everybody under the sun except for looking in the mirror. Like, how do people who don't have tickets get to an air vent to climb into a stadium? How does that happen? Have we not had major events before? Yeah, Hard Rock has. CONMEBOL has, but they don't learn anything from these major events. They had to move a second game of a Copa Libertadores final to another damn continent. And people are going to fall for this nonsense of, oh, well, the U.S. isn't ready for 2026. We got people climbing in air vents.
Oh, God.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Pisses me off. It's absurd. I told this story on Atlanta Soccer tonight on Sunday, as I was maybe about as fired up as I am right now about this. Back in my DJ days, the Spot in Athens, Georgia had a better security plan to deal with people without tickets than CONMEBOL for the Copa America final. We had people without tickets outside the gate of the door because they didn't want to buy the tickets to go into the Trina concert. They were outside. They weren't able to bust in an air vent. That's the Spot in Athens, Georgia for a Trina concert. Come on, CONMEBOL. Grow up.
I don't share that optimism, but Jarrett for
I didn't say I was optimistic about it. I'm demanding they grow up at some point, because if they don't, look, you can't partner with them.
No.
If they don't get this right, as much as it would help CONCACAF, as much as it would help U.S. Soccer, you can't partner with them because they will do damage to your brand because of their incompetence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ridiculous. They have great properties. They have great tournaments. I love the soccer out of South America, but this is not a new occurrence for a CONMEBOL event. It's absurd. And for people to actually fall for the, oh, well, yeah, it's their fault. No, it's their fault too. No, it's their, shut up. Just shut up. Come on.
I think that going forward, you have to have the Robert Downey Jr. rules in place if you work with CONMEBOL, because before Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., to get any job in Hollywood required like insane levels of guarantees to get anything done, because at the time he was a bit of a bad boy, drugs and booze and whatnot, and
lots of whatnot.
Yeah, lots of whatnot. But a studio would say, okay, here's the guarantees we have to have in place.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make a movie with this guy, here's what we need. And if you say no to any of these, they're all non-negotiable, you have no deal. If CONMEBOL wants that sweet, sweet American money, that United States currency, the non-negotiables need to be in place, i.e., U.S. entities.
Stay out of our security plan.
Yeah, controls the security plan and transportation.
We got you.
You have no part in security controls and or ticketing. That's all on us. Thank you. Anything else we can talk about, but security, gate entry, all of those things, you're not going to have any part of.
It's funny. I mean, you go back to the 2016 Copa America Centenario, and that was a great tournament. And remember how that tournament got started, because you had the 2015 Copa America, and it's the 100th anniversary of the first Copa America in 2016. Great opportunity to have a tournament. Dollar signs pop up in CONMEBOL's eyes. They announced the tournament. And after some of the planning for all of the tournament, the FBI gets involved, and multiple CONMEBOL and National Federation heads get indicted. Why? Because they couldn't just say, we're going to make money on this tournament. It was, we're going to make an obscene amount of money on this tournament, and we're going to do all kinds of things under the table and behind the scenes. Well, when that happened, then the only way the tournament gets done, because it was kind of far down the track, is for CONCACAF and U.S. Soccer to step in and get involved. So the way that tournament was organized, even though there was lots of last minute stuff like this one, you had, I don't know, professionals who have done these kind of things before. When CONCACAF comes in to save the day over your disorganized people, that tells you a lot straight up. But this tournament was so disorganized. That one was well handled because you had multiple people making sure the things that didn't happen in this one got done. You had a CONCACAF person, you had a U.S. Soccer person, and you didn't have these kinds of issues. I know, and I'm with the idea that, like, yeah, the people who broke into the stadium, that's trespassing. I mean, they should be arrested. There's no way around that. But a good security plans for that sort of thing, and they're not allowed to get to an air vent to climb in and possibly get stuck or climb their way to the third level of the stadium. I don't know. Like, it's just ridiculous that some have fallen for it, and others are weaponizing it to try to create narratives about the U.S. not being able to handle 2026. I've said it multiple times. I'll say it again. FIFA is already talking to venues about security for 2026. Now, I can guarantee you that CONMEBOL did not do that 2 years out. I can guarantee you that. I don't know if they did it 2 months out.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that this is even a conversation. And it's very sad that because of this, where CONMEBOL made the money on this tournament, they made a lot of money. There's some serious questions about how tickets got allocated and how so many ended up on the secondary market, maybe didn't make it to the primary market. Lots of conversations. Again, go back and read the indictments about 2016.
Yeah.
This isn't new. So this tournament made a lot of money for CONMEBOL, but it gave U.S. soccer a black eye that they didn't deserve in any of this. And it won't happen with 2026. FIFA is not going to allow it to happen. FIFA obviously wants to make a lot of money like CONMEBOL does. They have that in common. But FIFA understands the integrity of managing their brand and not allowing things like this to happen on their watch. They'll do other things that, you don't necessarily like, but this is something that they're not going to allow a tournament to be marred by what we saw on Sunday night.
Jarrett in the Fatal 4-Way with Jason. What's on your mind?
I'm going to cheat and ask two things. One that's a quick one.
Okay.
How much fun is the legal battle between Stephen Ross and CONMEBOL going to be?
It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of lawyers are going to make a lot of money. Stephen Ross is going to have fun with this one for sure.
Yeah. I want to see that one get moved to different courts around North and South America, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
I mean, you're going to have so many different lawsuits because anybody who bought tickets, you're going to have people who legitimately did not get in after having tickets because of situations. But then you're going to have people who did get in, but there's no way to know that their ticket was scanned or it just wasn't scanned because of the failures in security. And people have taken shots at Hard Rock on that. Hard Rock made the right decision. For anybody who's been in an event kind of situation like that, because of their initial screw up with allowing unticketed fans to get that close, you had two risks that then materialized. You had the issue with people getting crushed up against the gates because you tried to close the gates to get a proper ticketing process. So you could not have that. That is a public safety issue. And you also can't cancel the event or stop it any longer than you did because you run the risk of a riot with people who are in the building. So they had to bite the bullet and just let people in to get them out of the crush situation and to prevent any potential rioting situation. I'm sure, from people who are Ticketmaster and ticketing at the stadium, there were a lot of people in that building that weren't scanned. And there were a lot of people who were in the building with tickets that were not scanned. And there were a lot of people who did not have tickets and got in and were not scanned. But you had to do it. So, Stephen Ross is going to sue over that. People who had tickets and didn't get in are going to sue over that. People who actually are lying and got in and didn't have their tickets scanned are going to sue. CONMEBOL, all the money they made, they better not spend it. They better put it to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And it was impressive how many people who have clearly never worked in event or facility management like to pretend they know what they're talking about on social media, because social media, if nothing else, gives people the impression that they know something about something. Anyway,
man, I had a beer bottle thrown at my head at that Trina concert I was talking about from people who were outside the security perimeter and didn't like being out there. They couldn't get to the door. They couldn't get their hands on anybody, but they had a beer bottle that they chucked over my head and smashed on the wall in front of me.
It's a lively crowd.
It's a lively crowd. CONMEBOL and Trina concerts are lively crowds.
So my other question, as we'll kind of bring this, I guess we'll try and lasso this back to sanity, is tonight, New York City coming into town, looking at what New York City has. I know it's a team this year that I personally thought Nick Cushing would be one of the first guys on the hot seat this season. They've stabilized everything. They've had some good results. What is it about NYC? What do they do so well that has helped them stabilize?
It's a good defensive team. Matt Freese has finally become the number one that I think everybody thought he would be when he signed there last year. But Luis Barraza beat him out, and then Freese got the job late in the year. He's a very good goalkeeper. You have a good back line. You know, Thiago Martins is a very, very good center back. You have a lot of guys who are not super well known that form a very good defense, top 10 defense in the league. You got a good midfield. You know, the last match they played a 3-man midfield with Sands and Parks and Pereira. Sands is out due to yellow card accumulation tonight, but that's a very stable midfield. I think the next step for them is to, outside of that back seven, when they're in a 4-3-3 that is good and robust and stable, you've got to get a little bit more going forward. And, you know, Tyler Magno is on the outside looking in with this team. I don't know. It's hard to say with him because we've seen flashes of very, very good things, but we haven't seen it for long periods of time. So I don't know if Cushing is wrong in not giving him more opportunities. Santiago Rodriguez is outstanding. The question that I have about their big picture is when you do that 3-man midfield, and they might not tonight with Sands being out, it might be 2 holding and Santiago Rodriguez in front. Rodriguez is better as a true 10. I think he's one of the most talented players in the league. When he's wide, he's not as effective. He can be effective because he's going to kind of gravitate to the middle and try to create mismatches in situations like that. Diego Luna did a great job of it at RSL. Carlos Heel has done that for years. It can be done. I don't think it's Rodriguez's best spot. I think you're best with 2 holding midfielders behind him and let him cook with 3 in front. Right now, or at least in the last match, they didn't do that. So they've got to find a way to be as good defensively, but get Rodriguez in a number 10 spot, and then figure out that winger role. And do you turn back to Tyler Magno? Do you turn to one of the other players that haven't been able to really grab that spot and make it their own? That's the next level conversation for NYC. But Cushing did what I think a lot of managers in his situation would do. Went back to basics a little bit, solidified the back line, solidified the defensive side of the team, and you'll get to the attacking side once you get that solidified. And this past match is a prime example. It's not flashy, but you're getting results. In some of these games where you're not great, you're not losing the match. You're getting something out of it. And I think they've kind of bought into that mentality right now. So they're just a hard team to beat. They're not the best team in getting 3 points themselves, but it's not easy to get 3 points against them.
And it's funny you say that because I was talking with somebody at halftime of the Montreal match for Atlanta, where I was like, oh, that was a grim 45. Like, right now you're in survival mode. I would have been fine with a 0-0 draw on the road in Montreal just to get positive momentum and just to have something to run with coming forward and play out a gritty road draw that far away from home.
Yeah.
How do you turn around and do it at home? I know it's in MLS, you're expected more to be on the front foot at home. How do you find that balance if you're Atlanta?
Yeah, it's tough. It's something that I feel like all the different soccer that I get involved in, I always find common threads between them, whether we're talking Euros, Copa America, whether we're talking WPSL, summer league teams, what have you, college teams, high school teams. There's always threads that pop up. It's funny how that happens. Maybe it's just something you see at one place and you start to notice it in other spots. Expectation is something that I keep coming back to right now, and it started with the U.S. men's national team, where I've felt that the toxicity in the fan base online is because the expectations don't actually match the reality. And your expectations have to be a little bit different for what Atlanta United can do at the moment. And you don't have to like it, but it's just a fact. When you're built around having a number 10 that is world class in Thiago Almada, and he can find things for you, when you don't have that, you don't have another one of those guys on the bench. Nobody does. No team in the world would. So you have to find other ways, and they're in the process of finding other ways of creating opportunities. I think Rob Valentino in that process little bit of the mentality I talked about with Cushing of let's get the defensive side right first. The RSL first half is one that I keep pointing back to. I thought they were so good, so organized, and showed a little bit of a roadmap of where they can be as they are currently constructed. You're not going to play through that 10 because you don't really have that 10. So how can you get results? How can you be a good team in this current setup? You can be tough to break down. And in that match, they were in that 5-2-3, 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1. Again, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. But they basically, I called it on the broadcast, an underlined W. So you had your line of 5, you had your 2 central midfielders in front, and you had your 3 forwards up high, your 2 wingers and a 9. What that did was, and I think this is the essential element of how you can get results right now, is you become difficult to play through with that. Now you got to deal with the wings, and your wing backs are going to have to really do good job in 1v1 situations. But you don't let teams play through the middle. You make them go wide. That RSL game, you blocked because of that W shape up high. You blocked the passes through to Andres Gomez, to Diego Luna, to Crooks, to Arango. You made it difficult for RSL to find them. And you got RSL frustrated. They started to turn the ball over, and you got opportunities. Your goal comes off of a turnover in the corner. The counter pressure as that next step. So you become difficult to play through. You get a team a little wobbly, a little shaky. Then you can ratchet up that higher pressure, create turnovers, and where you're not able to create opportunities with a wizard on the ball like Almada was, you create them by turning teams over in vulnerable spots. This team can do that. And then they can do the things in the attacking half that they do have ability to do. They're good at crosses. Rios is a crafty number 9. Silva and Saba are 2 guys who can win 1v1 battles and get to goal and create opportunities for others or for themselves. Those are things that can happen. You're just missing that 10 that you play through. So you've got to find another way. I think it starts with being hard to play through and then turning a team over in their attacking half and getting the goal quickly. If that becomes your playmaker, that's what you have to rely on. And I think this team can do that. Now, to flash forward to tonight, no Noah Cobb, no Stian Gregerson, you're in a little bit of a numbers battle at center back. So it might be harder to play 3 center backs. You have Efrain Morales, you have Matt Edwards who can play center back. He hasn't played it at home at the Benz. So are you ready to do that? Are you ready even for Edwards to be the reserve center back in case, Abraham, Williams, and Morales in that situation would have to come off? Do you play Edwards as a wing back and move Ronald Hernandez to a center back, which we have seen lately? Do you look at that kind of a setup? Or do you have to do the reverse, like I talked about with NYC last match, where they played 3 central midfielders? You've got the midfielders to do that. You have Sleesh, you have Muyamba, you have Fortune, you have McCarty. Do you play 2 center backs with 3 central midfielders in front, or do you play 3 center backs with 2 central midfielders in front? Either way, you can still be that same personality of hard to play through the middle. It's just aligned a little bit differently. Make teams have to go wide, which is lower percentage. Just don't let them come inside at that point. And the most important thing for me in terms of getting results right now is turning teams over in the attacking half and getting to goal when they're not set. That's how this team can create opportunities.
Nick, one more from you before I ask about tonight's ref crew for Jason.
I don't even have a question. It's more about to me, all I want to see tonight is a fight.
Yeah.
Just show me a fight. I'm not even asking for a win. Just like go Rocky mode. Just go the distance. That's all I want to see. Just if you want me to be engaged and entertained, I mean, be surly.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it time and time again in this league, right? How many times has Atlanta United had a full roster, weapons ready to go, and then some team that looks like they're completely on the ropes comes in and puts on some kind of crazy concrete performance and pisses everyone off. That's what I want to see tonight. Piss off New York, piss off the broadcasters, not present company not included.
Yeah, I won't be pissed off in that.
And just go the damn distance and get me a fight. That's all I want.
I think in that regard, Atlanta United's done a good job of that all season long. This isn't a team that's rolled over. This isn't a team that's been a a soft team in the big picture of a fight. They could have gotten some out of the Montreal game. They have had opportunities. They've scored goals late. They have stayed in games. The RSL game's the outlier, and 3 of the goals come from dead ball situations. Run of play was a very different game. They've had that. I'd like to see them go to the next level because it's been a little bit of a recurring issue over the years. The team has been soft in areas, and I know it sounds weird to say like they're fighting and they're working hard, but they're soft. Like it's 2 different things. And I think the point to make here is you look at how much they run. You look at the pure like running and sprinting and intensive run statistics, which are measurements of work rate. They're very high for this team. They have been all year long. You look at getting late goals. You look at not giving up in games. You look at those things. This team has done that all year long. They've done this for years. It's those little moments of where a team is starting to get physical against you. Deck somebody. A team is starting to break up your transition moments with cheap fouls or grabbing people. Get in their face. Don't let teams get away with that stuff. And then when they start to get transition moments, deck somebody. If that's what you have to do it. Those things are okay. It's a next level kind of fight situation is what I want to see. And if that means you're going to have a couple different times where NYC players want to get in your face and complain about a hard foul, so be it. So be it. These are things that this team needs to do. They have some players who I think need to show more in that area. These are guys who are not going to stop running for the team, but it's that kind of fight that I think is the next element to it that I would like to see more of.
Crew tonight for this match from our friends at Pro. Lucas Zapala is the man in the middle. AR's Gianni Facchini and Kevin Locke. Alyssa Nichols is your fourth. David Barry, a familiar name for VAR, is back at VAR tonight. Joshua Patlack is your AVAR tonight. I know. Do you still have your book about refs and stylistics and things like that?
No, it got all messed up the first part of the season. So some of those numbers of the historical side of it aren't there. Spala's a guy who's been fine. He doesn't stand out to me as anybody who's been an issue. On the Crew, I would like to see Alyssa Nichols start to get some centers in MLS because I think she's ready. I think she's the best young referee coming up in the United States right now. We've seen her in USL Championship when she did some Atlanta United games earlier in her career. And she manages a game well. She handles a game well. I think she has a good presence. She's somebody that I'm glad to see her getting 4th official assignments. It's going to be time, and maybe it's going to be next year for her that she starts to get some center spots. I think she'll do a really good job.
Broadcast plans tonight for you and Mike and the Crew at 92.9.
6:30, Five Stripes Countdown, 7:40 kickoff. Abe and Garrett got you on Countdown. Mike and I got you at kickoff, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app. You can always listen for the home games on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass. You go to the audio option, usually after the anthem, so 7:35-ish, and go to the audio option and choose Home Team Radio, and we should be there. Sometimes they don't always toggle it in straight away. I mean, it's being fed to them. Things are plugged in. Like, trust me, it's there. It's just them flipping the switch and getting that up and going. Sometimes they might hit it a little bit later. So if it's not there right at kick, go back out and come back into it, and it will pop up for you.
All right. So Alyssa held up the 4th. She held up the light board, and we've gone past the appointed minutes tonight, but I thought it was important just to
I was rambling about CONMEBOL for the 57th time. I'm sorry.
Nothing wrong with that. No, shoot.
They
11
make me angry.
11:05 for us Eastern time is kind of like formations in soccer. It's a loose construct. And so we go past 11:05. I don't care. Back at it again tomorrow. We're going to catch up with Willie Davis from the North Carolina Courage U23s playing for a national championship in USLW. That's at 9:15. And then hour number 2 is the Nino and Nico show. Nino Torres joining us at 10 to talk about Danubio and Nacional being a 6-0 blowout on the weekend that he got to call, plus everything Copa, and Nico with everything going on with him on the West Coast. So we'll be back. Some of us will be back later tonight to talk about Atlanta United on the air. The rest of us will be back here in a little less than 22 hours to discuss stuff about everything going on with Atlanta United. there's your outro slide to follow us on all of our social medias. We're out. We'll see you in 22, and we'll see